Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am here in beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, where the sun is shining and the sky is blue, and it is a beautiful Sunday, the 9th of February in the year 2025. If you can believe it, it is already the 9th of February, and tomorrow is the 10th of February, so the month of February is already just flying right by. This is the second Sunday in February, our second podcast in February. So the year is really, really moving. So I do want to mention that we still have the availability for my Liminal Labyrinth year ahead talk that I gave, the masterclass I gave back in December. It's still extraordinarily relevant because nothing much has happened yet except that Mars is retrograde and not the eclipses haven't happened. Venus retrograde hasn't happened, Venus and Mercury at the same time. So there's a lot of astrology that hasn't happened that is in that masterclass, and you can buy it on my website, thegoldenastrologer.com. And if you click book online, you will find it among the things to purchase, classes, packages, etc. It's there. And if you would like to take the shortcut, just email me, deb@debmcbride.com or info@thegoldenastrologer.com and say, I'd like the link, and I'll just send you the link. Or you could message me on Instagram, The Golden Astrologer, and we can connect, and I will send you the link to purchase that. And I welcome you to do that. It's chock full of interesting information about this year ahead, and Saturn and Neptune changing signs and Uranus changing signs. There's so much astrology happening this year. So tune into the masterclass. It's an interesting thing right now. Pluto went into Aquarius on November 19th. And I have to say this because I've taught my classes this, and I tell people this all the time. And I maybe haven't had a chance to say this in a while on this podcast. But when Pluto enters a sign, especially Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, yes, those two. But when Pluto goes into a sign and stays there, the first few months or so, and maybe even the first year, but mostly the first maybe 6 months, or it depends on how we see it and how long it's taking and stuff and where it's going and what it's reacting with. Pluto will bring out all the darkness of that sign. Pluto will bring out the underworld qualities of that sign. Okay, so when Pluto went into Capricorn in 2008, we saw the hints when it went in and then stepped back out again and then stepped in again November 2008. We saw the hints in the beginning, and then we saw the real dirt of the underlying Capricorn underworld. And that was that the market crashed, and that there were the Ponzi schemes, and there were all sorts of problems. They seemed to just unearth, right? And that's Capricorn's an earth sign. So when we get into the beginnings of Pluto in a new sign, it shows us the ugly first, the ugly part of the sign, ugly, okay? And it may be like, well, sure, Capricorn rules the stock markets, the banks, the government, the officials, the patriarchy, all of those things. And when the stock markets crashed and then the Ponzi schemes were unearthed, this was all part of Pluto in Capricorn. It's like, oh, this closet hasn't been cleaned in 250 years. Let's clean it out. Think of it that way. The attic, well, I wouldn't even say the attic because that's up. We want the basement and the closet, okay? So if you haven't cleaned your closet in 250 years, imagine what comes out. So the first time Pluto stepped into Capricorn since, 2.5 centuries, there's a lot of dirt in the closet that has been sitting there waiting for the broom, and now we have vacuum cleaners. 250 years ago, there were no vacuum cleaners. So now we can use the vacuum cleaner to clean out the closet and the basement, right? So imagine if you didn't clean your closet for 250 years. Life's closet gets really dirty. And so when we move Pluto into the next arena, which is Aquarius, we start to clean out the Aquarius closet. And that could be, a lot of things that Aquarius represents. So what does Aquarius represent? It represents unexpected things. It represents revolution. It represents innovation. It represents all the things that are brilliant, genius inventions, things that today we couldn't live without, like vacuum cleaners. And so, can you live without a vacuum? People here do live without a vacuum cleaner. I have my vacuum cleaner I bought in New York, and I wouldn't live without it. So it's a good thing. Vacuum cleaners, and you know what? I have a Miele vacuum cleaner, Miele. And when I bought the vacuum cleaner, and this was 2008, this was January 2008, because the old one died as I was cleaning up the Christmas tree, as John and I were cleaning up the Christmas tree. And he's like, sweetie, go get one with a HEPA filter. And I was like, okay. So I went across the street where I lived, and there's a really good vacuum store. And Miele, at the time, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, it's a German company, all their vacuum cleaners had at the time astrology and star names. So my vacuum cleaner is an Aquarius. I had to buy it. I couldn't even believe it. It's blue. It's this stardust blue, and it's an Aquarius. And I had to buy how could I not buy an Aquarius? How could I not buy an Aquarius vacuum cleaner? But they had other ones. The guys there didn't know how to pronounce things. So there was one that was the Antares, which, if you know, is the fixed star in the heart of the Scorpion. And they were saying, yeah, the Antares. I said the Antares. And I explained it is the fixed star in the heart of the Scorpion. It is the war star. And, they didn't have it. They didn't go way into it. There weren't like asteroid goddesses and everything and trans-Neptunians. But you could buy a Pisces. And the Capricorn, of course, was the most expensive vacuum cleaner. But I bought the Aquarius, which was pretty darn expensive. And I called John at home, because it was freezing outside, and he stayed in. And I said, you're not going to believe this. And he said, oh my God, you're going to spend that on a vacuum cleaner? I said, but it's an Aquarius. So I have my Aquarius vacuum cleaner. And so right now, when we're cleaning the closets, the Aquarian closets, what comes out? What are the skeletons in the basement and the closet of Aquarius? This is what we need to look at right now. Because I swear, almost every day, somebody says to me, the world is really crazy right now. Yeah, the world is crazy right now. They're saying, yeah, the world is crazy. My neighbor said it to me yesterday. I was going to the farmer's market. He said, well, the world is really crazy right now. And we were talking before I left, and I'm like, you too, huh? It's like everywhere. People are saying this to me. I can't believe how much I'm hearing this. I'm seeing it on Instagram. I'm seeing it in conversations people are having. I'm seeing it all over. It's crazy right now. Aquarius can be genius or crazy. That's the flip side of genius. How many times has it happened that somebody comes up with something genius and nobody's ready for it yet? That's Aquarius, right? So people aren't ready for it, and they're like, you are nuts. Good God, what are you kidding? You're crazy. You're crazy. What is that's never going to... And then it's all of a sudden, it's the new thing, right? That's innovation. That's Aquarius. So when people look at something and they say it's crazy, it's the shape of things to come. And that doesn't mean it's going to be crazy for the next 20 years. It just means that crazy comes out of Aquarius's basement and closet. That's what comes out. Ponzi schemes come out of Capricorn's closet. Aquarius gets crazy, anarchists, revolutionaries, lynch mobs, gangs. I remember we talked about this in our class with Michael Luton many years ago, and we were talking about what would come out of the closet or what would come out of the underworld for Aquarius, and we were saying gangs. So if all of a sudden there's gangs, if you're hearing about gangs, and all of a sudden, what are these gangs? What are these gangs? And neighborhood gangs, like West Side Story gangs, right? The Sharks and the Jets. So when we have Aquarius is groups and communities, gangs are the dark side of groups and communities there, and other sorts of unmentionable, shall we say, communities that are very ugly, right? Things that you might see online or in Instagram or in the news, people who form or long-standing organizations that might be considered a gang. Those can be considered. You might start seeing more of those kinds of gangs, okay? The lynch mob, the angry mob. This is Pluto and Aquarius. So when I hear the world is crazy right now, my mind immediately goes to Pluto and Aquarius, and this is the crazy that's coming out of the closet and coming out of the basement and coming out of, maybe with Aquarius it does go into the attic. Where the aliens are hiding, and maybe there are alien gangs. Or gangs perceived to be aliens, right? I could go on and on, but my point is there are darker qualities to each sign, and I say it all the time. There's light and there's dark, and this is the darker side of Aquarius. If you think the world is losing its mind and what kind of weirdo, insane things you're seeing in the news, and I don't really pay attention to the news, that, then you are seeing Pluto and Aquarius. And one of the things we used to do in astrology class many years ago was that we would talk about astrology in the news and what aspects were happening in the sky each week that brought up certain stories, So Pluto and Aquarius is one of those things where we talk about the stories of, Aquarian matters, inventions gone awry. Inventions run amok, well, we thought we were creating something and then it mushroomed into something else, or we thought we were creating something and it really kind of blew up in our faces, and those kinds of things, inventions, geniuses, scientific stuff, but things keep getting deeper and deeper in that. A couple weeks ago I heard about an AI program that was apparently really, really going to overtake things. And I tried it and I wasn't terribly impressed. It didn't do more for me than any other one, but it was all right. But anyway, this is where we are. We are in Aquarius season. So right now, Aquarius is going to be coming out of the woodwork. So if things come out of the woodwork and they seem weird and crazy, yes, I've heard my share of crazy health stories, not with me. Within my New Vision group, there's been some crazy health stories. I can't really get into it here, but if you want to hear a crazy health story, you can contact me and I'll tell you the story. I can even send you a video, but it's really been wacky. And so, technology, health is more Virgo. I would say this is more sci-fi health stories. Okay, they're wacky, but I told a friend on New Year's Eve about this, and he said, "This is sci-fi. This is sci-fi." So that's Aquarius too. So I'm hearing sci-fi health stories. Anyway, I don't want to take away from the astrology today. So let's drop the health stories for now. And I want to tell you that one big important thing that's happening this week is the full moon. And the full moon is in Leo. And it is at 24 degrees Leo. And it is Wednesday the 12th at 8:53 a.m. So that is Eastern time. And because we are in Aquarius season, when there is a full moon, it is in Leo, the opposite sign. So Leo is particularly gregarious and creative and dramatic and fun-loving and the life of the party and sometimes the attention getter. But Leo is really very good at, working with children and doing something, in the dramatic arts or anything in the arts, really, performance, any sort of performance. The sign of Leo is really excellent at that. And sometimes Leos make good school teachers. Sometimes Leos, because they like working with children, sometimes Leos make good musicians. When we see Leo in the sky, we know that there's a lot of opportunities to tap into our own creativity. And so it's nice to have something in fire, because there's so much water, air, and earth in the charts right now. So a little fire will do us some good. We will have more fire later this year, but right now we've got earth and air with 3 planets in Aquarius and 1 planet in Gemini, that being Jupiter. And so this is really an opportunity that, if you haven't been feeling inspired lately, this is an opportunity to sit down with your creative arts or your creative problem solving in your life and at your job. So these are really good moments to do that. And that's what we like about a Leo full moon. The moon will also oppose Mercury because Mercury is very close to the sun. They are, in fact, conjunct right now. That means they're in the same place at the same time in the sign of Aquarius. And they are, helping us sort of clear our minds, get words across, have discussions, communicate with others, communicate what's going on for us, and also innovative thinking because Mercury's in Aquarius and the sun sheds light on that. So we like that. We like when Sun and Mercury, which they've been together since the other day, they've been conjunct, but they're still, Mercury's past the sun, but they're still, connecting with one another and giving us an opportunity to listen to new brilliant ideas and new things that could work for us intellectually. So that's one thing that's going on. Now, the other thing I want to mention is that when I look at my horoscope wheel, when I look at the transits, everything is in one half of the zodiac right now, which is always interesting when that happens. And so the thing that moves the most is the moon. So the moon is always going to spin around the whole dial of every sign, all 12 signs, within a month, within 28 days. And right now the moon is with Mars, and they have been conjunct in the sign of Cancer. And so this is maybe a little bit heated, maybe a little passionate, maybe a little sporty, Moon and Mars, maybe a little emotional, maybe a little agitated or angry. And this is because the moon is with Mars, and it's been most of today. So when we look at that half of the zodiac, that's where the whole playing field is. Now, the one thing that stands out is the South Node in Virgo. So whenever we have the nodes, and I talked about them at length in the last several weeks or a few weeks ago, the North Node is always opposite the South Node. They are a duo. They are opposite and equal. They are not, you're not going to find the North Node in Pisces where it is and then sort of the South Node in Taurus. That's not going to happen. Wherever one is, the other one is in opposition. They're in axis. And so when we have this axis, the North Node is asking us to pay attention to where we're going to get fulfilled, which, as we know, is in Pisces. And I've talked about a lot with, especially with Venus and Neptune in these last weeks, gathering together at the North Node in Pisces, asking us to do what's, faith-oriented, spiritual, creative, intuitive, deeply intuitive. But the South Node is the only point that is not in the whole picture of the planets and one half of the zodiac. They go from Aquarius to Cancer. And really, the opposite sign from Aquarius is Leo, as I just said about the full moon. But that whole section, that Aquarius, Pisces, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Cancer, that's where everything is. And so the South Node is sort of the tail that wags the dog. It's the handle of the bucket. We call that a bucket. But it's all in that section. And so it's very interesting because that is where the playing field is right now. In signs like Aquarius and Pisces, it's more altruistic, it's more future-oriented, it's more consciousness-raising, okay? And then as things go into Aries, it will be far more like person, self-oriented, the sole individual. Then we go into Taurus, where Uranus is, which is all about finances, money, earthbound matters. And then Gemini, where things are intellectual, communicative. And then there's, of course, Cancer, which is security-oriented. And then eventually Leo, which I had mentioned, all about the creativity and children and performance. And so Cancer security-oriented is family-oriented. That's where things kind of stop right now. Now, like I said, the moon is going to do that tour all through the whole zodiac, but they're all sort of crowded together in one area. And it's going to stay this way for a while because things aren't going to go past Cancer into Leo except for the moon, which is going to do this week. But really, if I move my dial for another month, I'm really not seeing things. Again, they're all crowded in Pisces and crowded in the rest of the zodiacs up until Cancer. So this is a very interesting dynamic. This means that we're not in the whole Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn. And of course, it's not their time of year. It's not their time of year. And that's more sort of this latter part of the year that goes from like the end of September until early January. So that's one reason for it. But the other planets that could be anywhere, like Jupiter, like Mars, like Uranus, these are planets that could be easily in another sign, but they're not. They're all sectioned in that one area. And so our energy is concentrated a lot in water, with lots of planets in Pisces and then things in Cancer right now. But we're really not going to start seeing things move out of there for months. And what I'm seeing is the moon moving, of course, because it always does. But it's going to take a few months. We're going to look at June for Mars to get into Virgo. And otherwise, it goes into Virgo. And then we start to see things move into the latter part of the zodiac, Libra, Scorpio. But that's June. And so this first half of the year is everything is concentrated in those Aquarius, Pisces areas because of the planets that are going to be stirring up the pot in Aquarius and Pisces, the consciousness signs, the awareness signs. And, you might say, the world is crazy, Deb. You just said the world is crazy. Yeah. When you start diving into consciousness, all sorts of stuff comes out, right? So things are crowding around Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And so you're going to get questions of consciousness, questions of, what, the truth. You're going to get questions about the truth. You're going to get, and, the truth is the highest frequency there is. So, Pisces wants some truth, right? So does Sagittarius, but we're dealing with Pisces right now. So Venus is going to retrograde. She'll go back and forth, Aries, Pisces. Mercury's going to retrograde back and forth, Aries, Pisces. And so this is a very powerful and interesting dynamic because it means that this section of the zodiac is where the energies are focused. In belief, in trusting, in having faith, in truth, in listening to your intuition, in connecting with spirit and the divine. This is a lesson apparently we need to learn over and over again because of Saturn back and forth in Pisces and Aries. And let's face it, Saturn, Neptune, Mercury, and Venus are all going to do this travel through Pisces, step into Aries, come back into Pisces journey. Now, Venus and Mercury will move on. Eventually, they'll turn around and they'll just go through Aries and go through the rest of the zodiac. But Saturn and Neptune are going to keep this movement going between Aries and Pisces till next year. So we're looking at what we gain from tapping into our intuition, listening to our insights, our own information we're collecting from the divine, and how we use this energy to make ourselves a unique individual in this world. Okay? How does that call of intuition? That's your intuition. You're listening to what's coming through your channel, your antenna. And so you're going to interpret that according to your energy and according to who you are, right? So when you listen very deeply to the divine speaking to you, then you can go out and from your own energy, which is your own unique energy, you can go out and step forward into self-expression in a new way. This is a lot of what we're going through. That stepping into Aries of those four planets and stepping back into Pisces and then stepping forward into Aries again. That's, Saturn and Neptune will take much longer to do that. They're slower moving planets. But this experience of tapping in, listening, and then going out and expressing yourself, this is very important. This is a theme of this year, including faith, which I had talked about. Faith is a big theme this year. And moving into a unique sense of soul, individuality, individual expression, right? That's what this is teaching us. These are things to bear in mind as we pass through, especially these next months, and of course, over the next year, a little more than a year. So, in the meantime, Mercury and the Sun are together, and they are going to challenge Uranus. And tomorrow we will get Mercury challenging Uranus at 2:28 p.m. Eastern Time. And Mercury's in Aquarius challenging Uranus, the planet that rules Aquarius. The sign is ruled by Uranus. So this is a very powerful, brilliant idea time. Okay? This is a time to kind of keep yourself calm and not allow yourself to get anxiety, anxious, nervousness. Keep your head. It's a time to really keep your head. Dig in and get the information you need from wherever, whether you source that from your intuition or your analysis. Where are you getting this information from that you need to do your job, do your work, come up with a great idea, etc. Meanwhile, Sun is going to do this on Tuesday. The Sun will square Uranus. It will challenge Uranus just in the same way. That means the energy is a little rattled, a little excitable, a little bit, lightning strikes, So maybe it won't strike in the same place twice, but it'll strike in two ways over the next couple days, Monday and Tuesday. So this is good. Means it gets us out of our comfort zone and gets us interested in things that can open our minds. And this is a really good time to open your mind and feel your sense of vitality in the world. Okay, Wednesday again is the full moon. And then later this week, on Friday the 14th, the Mercury enters Pisces. And that will be at 7:06 a.m. Eastern Time on Valentine's Day, the 14th. And so Mercury in Pisces gives us more insight, intuition again, but a different type of intuition. Uranus and Mercury tomorrow are like, wow, I just got a flash. I got a lightning bolt of inspiration and ideas. This is, ooh, I felt that. There was a wave of insight and I know how to solve this problem now. Mercury's not at its favorite sign in Pisces because it likes Virgo. It rules Virgo, the opposite sign. So this is something that's very interesting. When it goes into Pisces, it does provide us with information and intuition, but we have to be very, very careful with this information. It could be incorrect and it could be misleading. And I don't mean that your intuition is misleading. I mean, you may get information that is misleading. Okay, so just double check everything with Mercury and Pisces. But you could get the sensation of something really amazing, like something that solves a problem in your life or is creatively inspiring. And that's where Mercury's going to go. So Mercury's going to go into Pisces and start its journey in Pisces. And then that is the planet that is changing signs this week. The only lunation is the full moon. And we still have this week and the following week of, before Mars goes direct. So this is one more week of Mars retrograde, and then there's next week of Mars retrograde, and Sunday the 23rd, 2 weeks from today, and I don't want to rush the time, believe me. I don't like rushing the days. I like to stay in the present moment and connect with the present moment because there's much to be gained from the present moment. However, I'm just letting you know that 2 weeks from today, Mars is going direct. It'll go direct at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the 23rd. But it will be in its station. It will be in its station. So that's something we're all looking forward to because I know I've told a lot of people, my clients, friends, everything, telling them to wait to initiate anything new until Monday the 24th, which is good. It's a Monday, right? But Sunday the 23rd is when Mars goes direct in that evening. So just be aware of that. And I would like to invite you to join me on Instagram during the week. It's the Golden Astrologer. And also, if you are interested in a Reiki session with me, which is lovely, it's beautiful. It also clears up problems that you may have in your life. Like I have cleared up problems that, if you want to face them head on, which we don't do during Mars retrograde, we try to work it out behind the scenes. We don't like go take big action during Mars retrograde. But I think my Reiki is really good for working out problems behind the scenes. It clears up the energy about a stressful thing in your life. It clears up energy around, situations with people and stuff and job and family and things that if you just subtly do Reiki, well then, the energy changes and shifts. And remember, when we change our energy, everybody else changes around us. So this is why I really recommend it, because it's really helpful to just see a situation and be able to clear it up with something. It sounds like magic, right? But we're really working on the energy, and we're all energy, right? We're matter and energy. If we clear up the energy, matter changes in the world, right? So that's something to consider when you're looking at my website, thegoldenastrologer.com. I'm also working with people in expansion mentoring, and if you are interested in that, that is a longer commitment, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months with me. And we use all the tools that I have in my toolkit. That includes everything from all the patterns I use from my quantum integration coaching certification, and also my Reiki, and also astrology. I always look at the astrology of my mentoring clients, and every now and again I'll refer back to it. But that's something to consider in the long term. Thank you so much for listening. May you have a beautiful full moon. It's been looking really beautiful in the sky. It's been close to Jupiter. It's been close to Mars. Remember, it was close to Venus last week. So as it's moving, it's not going to be around anything in particular when it's in Leo, but it will be beautiful in the sky nonetheless. Have a wonderful week, and I shall see you next weekend for another Golden Astrologer podcast. In the meantime, tune in to me on Instagram. Gratitude to everyone for listening. See you then.